The next method to calculate inverse Z transforms is partial fractions method. Partial fractions method. So what are the steps we have to follow to calculate inverse Z transform using partial fractions method? The first step is we have to ensure the order of the denominator is greater than order of the numerator, right? The order of the denominator must be greater than order of the numerator. We have to ensure this step. If this is not true, then we cannot perform partial fractions method. Then factorize the denominator into its prime factors. We will ensure the order of the denominator is greater than that of the numerator, and then we will factorize the denominator. And we'll find inverse Z transform for each partial fractions from standard pairs, right? Previously, when we had f of s is equal to some numerator by denominator, right? Some numerator by denominator. We just factorize this denominator and then we calculated the partial fractions, right? A by d1 plus b by d2, something like this. Now what we are going to do in case of Z transforms, if f of z is there, now we will take f of z divided by z. We'll take f of z divided by z and then find the partial fractions. That is a divided by z minus z1 plus b divided by z minus z2. b divided by z minus z2 and so on, like that. Right? First we have to divide f of z by z. This is the important part in Z transforms. This is how Z transforms is different from the other transforms. Right? Now we'll use the same two examples that we use for long division method, and we'll find the partial fractions method. We'll find the inverse using partial fractions method for those same problems, and we'll see if we are getting the same answer. So the first question is x of z is given like this. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to convert that into powers of z, right? Instead of z inverses, I'm making it z. So this is the x of z, right? Now I'm going to convert, I'm going to apply partial fractions. So before applying partial fractions, what should I do? I should divide my x of z with z. I should divide it by z. So if I divide it with z, what will I get? I'll get 1 by 6 divided by z minus 1 by 2 multiplied with z minus 1 by 3. Now I will write the partial fractions. A divided by the first factor and b divided by the second factor. Now I'll calculate a and b values. So how will I calculate a and b values? To calculate a, I have x of z, right? X of z divided by z, right? This term multiplied with whatever is the denominator of a, z minus 1 by 2, z minus 1 by 2 at z equals to half, at z equals to half, right? If I do this, I'll get x of z divided by z is 1 by 6, this term, right? This term here, when I multiply this entire term with z minus 1 by 2, z minus 1 by 2 and z minus 1 by 2 will get cancelled. So I have 1 by 6 multiplied with 1 by z minus 1 by 3 at z is equals to 1 by 2. That is equals to 1 by 2. So if I substitute z is equals to 1 by 2, what will happen? 1 by 2 minus 1 by 3. I'll take the LCM for the denominator, right? I'll take the LCM for the denominator. So the denominator is 6. So this is 1 by 2, right? 1 by 2 minus 1 by 3. So I'll get 3 minus 2. So this 6 and the 6 will get cancelled. I have 1 by 1. So my a value is going to be 1. That is how I'll arrive at a value. A is 1. Similarly, if I multiply x of z by z with z minus 1 by 3 and substitute z is equals to 1 by 3, then I'll get b value. B value as minus 1. Right? Same method. Now I will substitute the a values of a and b in this equation. Right? My x of z by z will now be equals to 1 by 1 minus 1, z minus 1 by 2 minus 1 by z minus 1 by 3. Now I'll multiply the entire equation on both sides with z. So this is what I will get. Or I'll take this z to the other side. This is what I will get. Now I'll find the inverse z transforms. Right? I'll find the inverse z transforms. So what do we know from the standard z transform pair? Standard z transform pairs. We know from this ROC that is given in the question that we are going to look for causal signals, right? Greater than symbol is there. Mod z is greater than some value. That means we are going to look for causal signals. We are going to look for causal signals. So from the standard z pairs, we have a power n u of n, right? A power n u of n has this z transform. What is the z transform? It is z by z minus a, z by z minus a, and the corresponding ROC is mod z greater than mod a, mod z greater than mod a. So from this term for the first term, what can we write? If I substitute a is equals to 1 by 2, right? If I substitute a is equals to 1 by 2, I have 1 by 2 whole power n into u of n with a z transform z by z minus 1 by 2. That is nothing but this first term, right? And its corresponding ROC is mod z greater than mod 1 by 2. Mod z is greater than 1 by 2, right? So my first term inverse I can write as 1 by 2 power n into u of n, and the second term is going to be 1 by 3 whole power n u of n. So that is how I can get the inverse z transform. This is the, what is this? This is the closed form solution. This is the closed form solution. Now let me put some values of n. Let me put some values of n and find the open form solution, right? I'll find the open form solution. That means I am going to find my x of n like this. What is my x of 0 and x of 1, x of 2, and so on, right? I'll find something like this. Now if I put n equals to 0, what happens? X of 0, 1 by 2 power 0, that is 1, and u of n, that is 1, u of 0, that is 1, right? 1 minus, this is 1 and this is 1, so 1 minus 1, I have to get 0, right? My x of n is now going to be 0 at origin, and if I put 1, what will I get? 1 by 2, and u of 1 is 1 minus 1 by 3, u of n is again 1. So simplifying, I'll get 3 minus 2, that is 1 by 6. 1 by 6. Now similarly, if I put 2, I'll get 1 by 4 minus 1 by 9, right? That means 36, that is 9 minus 4, I'll get 5. 5 by 36. Then if I put 3, I'll get 1 by 8 minus 1 by 27. Right? 1 by 8 minus 1 by 27. So if I simplify this, I'll get 19 by 216. Right? 19 by 216. 19 by 216. right? So if you look at this term, if you look at the x of n that we have achieved here, and if you compare it with the x of n what we have achieved 2 slides previously here using the power series method, right? Power series method, we have the same x of n, right? So from this what can we conclude? Whichever method we use, we should get the same answer. We should get the same answer. So that is how we'll perform. That is how we'll perform inverse Z transform using partial fractions, right? Inverse Z transform using partial fractions. Now we'll look at another problem and find the partial Z fractions for partial fractions. Find the inverse Z transform using partial fractions. This is the same example we have considered using power series method also. Now we'll check for this one as well. First, this is already in the powers of Z. Then I am going to find x of z divided by z. I am factorizing the denominator and then I am looking for x of z divided by z, right? Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to convert that into partial fractions. I have 3 terms in my denominator, so I have 3 fractions here: a by z plus b by z minus 2 plus c by z minus 3. Same way how I found a and b in the previous problem, I'm going to find a, b and c here, right? I'll find a, b and c. So if I find the partial fractions, I will get a equals to minus 7 by 6, b equals to 3 by 2 and c equals to minus 1 by 3. Now I'll substitute these 3 values in x of z divided by z. I'll obtain this equation. I'll obtain this equation. Then what I'm going to do is I'll apply inverse Z transform. So on my left hand side I'll have x of n, and on the right hand side minus 7 by 6 is a constant and it is multiplied by 1, right? So inverse Z transform of 1 is nothing but delta of n, and here the second term, for the second term if you look, I have z divided by z minus 2, right? Z divided by z minus 2. And what is the corresponding ROC? ROC is mod z less than 2. That is, my signal has to be anti-causal. So since my signal is anti-causal, the inverse Z transform that I have to apply is, what is Z transform pair I have to consider? I have to consider the Z transform pair as minus a power n into u of minus n minus 1 with a Z transform of z by z minus a. This is the Z transform pair I have to consider, right? So here a is equals to 2. So negative 2 power n into u of minus n minus 1. And similarly here I have minus 1 by 3 and here a is equals to 3. So minus and another minus will become plus, and I have 3 power n u of minus n minus 1. 3 power n into u of minus n minus 1. So this is how I can apply the inverse Z transform, right? Inverse Z transform. Now if I substitute values of n, like n is equals to 0, n is equals to -1 and n is equals to -2. If I substitute some values, I will get the same answer that I have obtained in the power series method. Right? I'll get the same answer as I got in power series method. Right? This arrow must be here. This is my origin. Okay. Now we will look at a two-sided transform now. Right? This is a two-sided signal. Right? Now we'll find the inverse Z transform of this signal. First we'll convert that in terms of Z. Then I'll make it a partial fractions. I'll factorize the denominator. I'll factorize the denominator and make it partial fractions. Now I will find the values of a and b. It's going to be 1 by 3 and negative 1 by 3. I'll substitute the values of a and b. I'll substitute the values of a and b in this equation of x of z divided by z. This is what I'll get. Now I'll take this z to the other side. I'll take it to the other side. This is what I am arriving at. And now I'll apply inverse z transform. Now I'll apply inverse z transform. Now this is my pole, right? 2 is my pole and -1 is my pole, right? 2 is a pole and 1 is a pole. So when I have z by z minus a, z by z minus a, and my corresponding ROC for this pole, right? What is it going to be? It is mod z. Mod z. What is the relation between mod z and 2? It is mod z less than 2. Mod z is less than 2. That means my signal is a anti-causal signal, right? My signal is a anti-causal signal. So what is the corresponding time domain signal? Minus a power n into u of minus n minus 1. In this case, a is 2. So minus 2 power n u of minus n minus 1. That is for my first term. And for the second term, I have z by z minus a, right? Z minus a. And my corresponding ROC corresponding to this pole is mod z is greater than 1, right? Then it is a causal signal. Causal signal means a power n u of n. In this case, a is nothing but negative 1. A is minus 1. So minus 1 whole power n into u of n. So that is how I'll get the inverse Z transform for a two-sided signal, right? For whichever part it is causal, I'll apply this function, and for whichever part it is anti-causal, I'll apply another function, right? That is how we'll calculate Z transforms using partial fractions method. Find the inverse Z transform of x of z with ROC mod z greater than 1. First, x of z has to be converted in powers of z, and then we'll divide x of z by z, and now we'll find the roots of the denominator, and this is going to be the roots of the denominator. Now we have complex roots in the denominator, and now similar to how we found out the values of a and b, we applied partial fractions and found the values of a and b in the previous 2-3 problems. We'll find the same here. Now we'll solve the a and b and substitute them, and this is what we will get, right? And this is a constant here. This is a constant, and this is a constant. And z by z minus some term here, and z minus another term, right? Let me assume this is a. I'll assume a. So z by z minus a, right? Z by z minus a, and my mod z is always greater than 1. That means it's a causal term, right? Mod z is greater than 1. That means it's a causal signal. What is the causal signal corresponding to this? It is going to be a power n into u of n. So a power n, right? So this constant will come as it is, and for this term I'll write a power n into u of n, right? A power n into u of n, and this is a constant term as it is. This is a constant term as it is, and I'll write a power n u of n. So this is my final inverse Z transform. That is the final inverse Z transform. The next method to calculate the inverse Z transform is residue method. And to calculate the residue method, to calculate the inverse Z transform using residue method, first we'll define f naught of Z. So what is f naught of Z? It is nothing but f of Z multiplied by Z to the power n minus 1. N minus 1. Now for this f of Z, we'll calculate the residues, right? For this f naught of Z, we'll calculate the residues using this formula. Pi is nothing but the pole. Pi is nothing but the pole, and m is the number of poles at that particular pi. Suppose if I have two poles, right? If I have in my denominator, if I have z minus 1 whole square, right? That means at z equals to 1, I have two poles. Then when pi is equals to 1, my m is equals to 2, right? When I have z minus 1 in the denominator, then my m is 1. That means my pole is a simple pole, right? Simple pole. So these are the different formulas we have. And we'll calculate the residues. And after finding the residues for causal signals, right? For causal signals, this is the formula for inverse Z transform. And for anti-causal signals, this will be the formula for inverse Z transform. Right? What is the formula for causal signals? X of n is equals to summation I is equals to 1 to n residue of f naught of Z, that we'll calculate using these formulas. Residue of f naught of Z at Z is equals to P is nothing but the poles. If we have n poles, we'll have to find n residues, right? Similarly, for left-sided signals, what we'll do? The same residue with a negative sign. A negative sign is introduced. Now let us discuss a problem on this. So this is the x of Z. That is the x of Z. Now I am factorizing the denominator. I'm simplifying. I'm factorizing the denominator. I'm writing my x of Z like this, right? So what are my poles? My poles are 1, 2. 1, 2 are my poles. So since my poles are simple, right? That is, they do not have any other power except 1, right? They're not multiple poles there. They are simple and real poles. Since my poles are simple, what is the formula I have to use? Residue of f of Z is nothing but Z minus Pi into f of Z into Z to the power minus 1, right? Z minus Pi f of Z into Z to the power n minus 1 at Z equals to Pi, right? Now first we have two poles, and what are the three possible ROCs? We are not given any ROC in the question, so there are three possible ROCs, right? This is Z is equals to 1, and this is Z is equals to 2. What are the three possible ROCs? One of them is One of them is inside the innermost pole, the other one is outside the outermost pole, and in between the two poles. These are the three kinds of ROCs. So now we will find the inverse Z transform for all three different ROCs. We will find the inverse Z transform for all three different ROCs. So in order to find the inverse Z transform, first we have to calculate the residue. So at Z equals to 1, we'll calculate the residue first. Then we'll follow the same procedure for Z equals to 2. So at first pole, when Z is equals to 1, what is the formula for the residue? It is Z minus 1, right? Z minus 1 into, right, at Z equals to 1, we have to do Z minus 1 into x of Z multiplied with Z to the power n minus 1, and finally we have to substitute Z equals to 1. Now if I substitute that, this is my x of Z. I am multiplying that with Z to the power minus 1. I'm multiplying that with Z to the power minus 1, sorry, Z to the power n minus 1, and Z minus 1. So this Z minus 1 and Z minus 1 will get cancelled. I have Z into Z plus 1 into Z power n minus 1 divided by Z minus 2. These two terms, Z and Z power n minus 1, I am combining. I am writing it as Z power n. Now in place of Z, I am going to substitute 1. So 1 plus 1, that is 2. That is 2 into 1 power n is 1 divided by 1 minus 2. 1 minus 2 is minus 1. That is minus 2. Minus 2 is my residue. Minus 2 is my residue, right? At Z equals to 1. Now at Z equals to 2, what will happen? At Z equals to 2, I have to multiply my x of Z into Z to the power n minus 1 with Z equals to, with Z minus 2, and substitute Z is equals to 2, right? At Z equals to 2. So these two terms will now get cancelled, and in the remaining term I'll substitute Z equals to 2. So I'll get 3 into 2 to the power n divided by 1, right? 3 into 2 to the power n divided by 1. So these are the two residues I have calculated. Now I will calculate the inverse Z transform for all the three possible ROCs. So what are all the three possible ROCs? One is inside the innermost circle, right? Inside the innermost circle means inside 1. That means mod Z is less than 1. The other one is outside outermost circle, that is mod Z greater than 2. And the other one is between the two circles, 1 less than mod Z less than 2. So these are the three possible ROCs. Now let us consider mod Z greater than 2. Let us consider this ROC, right? Mod Z greater than 2. If you look at the ROC, we are saying it is greater than some value. That means my x of n should be causal, right? My x of n should be causal or right-sided signal. Now, what is the formula for x of n when the signal is right-sided according to the residue theorem or the residue method? It is summation I is equals to 1 to n, then f naught of z, residue of f naught of z, right? Residue of f naught of z when z is equals to pi. Here how many poles do we have? We have 2 poles, 1 and 2. So capital N is equals to 2, right? Capital N is equals to 2. So I is equals to 1 to 2. Residue of z is equals to pi. Z is equals to pi f naught of f naught of z, right? Now when I is equals to 1, what is it? The first residue, right? The first residue, that is minus 2. When I is equals to 1, it is the first residue, that is minus 2. Minus 2 into u of n, right? Since it is a causal signal, I am multiplying it with u of n. And the second residue plus, what is the second residue? It is 3 into 2 power n. So 3 into 2 power n. Since it's a causal signal, I am multiplying it with u of n, right? Since it's a causal signal, I am multiplying it with u of n, right? That is how I'll apply residue method. Now this is for one ROC. Now I am considering the other ROC. Let me consider mod z less than 1. Since it is less than 1, that means my signal is going to be anti-causal. So how will my function change? My formula change? I'll have a negative sign. Right? So here I'll have a negative sign. Then what is my first residue? It is minus 2. My first residue is minus 2. And since it is anti-causal, I'll use u of minus n minus 1, right? And then my second residue is 3 into 2 power n. Since it's anti-causal, I'll use u of minus n minus 1. So now if I multiply this minus inside, what will I get? 2 into u of minus n minus 1 minus 3 into 2 power n u of minus n minus 1. That is how I'll get this second Z inverse, right? For the second ROC. Now if I consider the third ROC, that is in between two poles, between 1 and 2. So what will I get? I can assume my signal is non-causal. That means one part is causal and the other part is non-causal. Since mod z is less than 2, this particular residue at z equals to 2 is going to be anti-causal, and for the other part, mod z is greater than 1, this residue is going to be causal, right? So I'll consider the residue at 1 from the causal part, that is minus 2 into u of n, and the other residue at z equals to 2 from anti-causal part, that is minus 3 2 power n into u of minus n minus 1. So these are the three different types of three possible inverses for the given Z transform. Since there is no ROC specified, we can find three different Z inverses. If you find the Z transform for any of these three signals of x of n, you will get the same Z inverse. You'll get the same Z transform. That is what we have proved here, right? Now the convolution theorem method. This is the final Z transform. Final inverse Z transform. Convolution theorem. First we'll split f of z into two Z transforms. We'll split f of z as product of two different Z transforms, and from standard Z transform pairs we will deduce the inverse Z transforms for f1 and f2, and finally we'll perform convolution of these inverses, right? Convolution of f1 and f2, f1 of n and f2 of n, to yield the desired function. That is what we'll do. So using Z transform, perform convolution of the input x of n and h of n to obtain y of n. Now x of n and h of n are given. Using Z transform, we have to calculate y of n. Now we already know y of n is nothing but x of n convolved with h of n. Right? Y of n is nothing but x convolved with h. The output is convolution of input and impulse response. This we are trying to perform using Z transform. So if I apply Z transform, what will happen? Y of z equals to x of z multiplied with y of z equals to x of z multiplied with h of z. Right? Y of z is nothing but multiplication of the two transforms. First, I'll find x of z. What is x of z? This is nothing but values at origin 1 and 2. Now x of z is nothing but summation n is equals to minus infinity to infinity x of n z power minus n. Now since I have only 0, 1, 2 for values of n, my limits will now become summation n is equals to 0 to 2, right? So when n is equals to 2, what happens? I have x of 0. So n is equals to 1, what happens? X of 0 is minus 2 into z to the power 0, that is minus 2. When n is equals to 1, x of 1 into z to the power minus 1, that is 3z inverse. When n is equals to 2, x of 2 into z to the power minus 2, that is 1 into z to the power minus 2. So this is how I'll get x of z. Now similarly, I'm going to find h of z. So for h of z, what is the formula? The formula is h of n into z to the power minus n. Since h of n is also defined from 0 to 2, I have my limits as 0 to 2. So similarly, I'll write my h of z. h of z is now 1 minus z inverse plus z whole z power minus 2. Right? Now I have got my h of z and x of z. So to get y of z, I will multiply these two. I will multiply these two. Right? I'll multiply both of them. So if I simplify this, I'll get y of z is equals to minus 2 plus 5z inverse minus 4z power minus 2 plus 2z power minus 3 plus z power minus 4. Now this I can write as, what is y of z? Y of z is again summation n is equals to minus infinity to infinity y of n z power minus n. Now I will expand this. So what happens? Y of, let me say, minus 1 and so on from minus infinity, y of minus 1 z power minus 1, so z power plus 1 plus y of 0 plus y of 1 z inverse plus y of minus 2 z power minus 2 and so on. Right? It continues. Now what I'm going to do is I'm comparing these two terms, right? I'm comparing their corresponding coefficients. So if I compare the corresponding coefficients, what I'll get? Y of n equals to, what is y of minus 1? It is a coefficient of z. Is there any z term here? There is no z term. So y of minus 1 is 0. Y of minus 1 is 0. And y of, after y of minus 1, I have y of 0, the constant term. So the constant term is minus 2. So this is my origin, right? Y of 0. And then y of 1 is 5. Y of 2 is minus 4. 3 is 2. and y of 4 is 1. Y of 4 is 1. So this is my y of n. This is my y of n. So this is the origin. This is the origin. So this is how I can perform convolution using Z transforms. Right. Similarly, we'll perform deconvolution using Z transform. Convolution means from x and h I will find y. From input and impulse response I will find the output response. Deconvolution means from the output and the impulse response I will obtain the input. Right? From the output and impulse response I will obtain the input. Now I have the output y of n. So from that I'm going to find y of z. Right? This is how I'll find y of z. And similarly I'll find h of z. Right? This is using the standard Z transform pair a power n into u of n equals to z by z minus a. Now to get x of z, what should I do? I should divide y of z divided with h of z. Now y of z divided by h of z. So z minus 0.4 and z minus 0.4 will get cancelled, and z and square will get cancelled. So I have z divided by z minus 0.2. Now, if I take inverse transform of this, since my output is a causal signal and the impulse response is also causal, my input must also be causal. So I'll assume my input is going to be causal now, and I'll take inverse of x of z. So what is going to be my input? It's going to be a power n into u of n. What is a here? It is 0.2. So 0.2 power n into u of n. This is my input signal x of n. So this